Intergenerational Mobility by Caleb Cutler. Parental income and socioeconomic status of family has been shown to play a large role on the future success or failure of individuals in becoming economically successful. College attendance has been proven to be affected by the parental income and social class. Rates of people entering college when coming from a lower class home are near 30% of males at the age of 30 compared to the 50 to 75% in the middle class and the 95% in the upper class, according to the Equality of Opportunity Project by Raj Chetty, economic professor from Harvard. Employment rates have also been proven to be effective by parental income, with those of the lower 1 to 25th percentile having 58 to 75% employment rate among males, compared to 82 to 85% employment rate between the 25 to 50th percentile of national income, compared to the upper class with 75 to 100th percentile of national income having an 85 to 82% employment rate, as many individuals are not required to work because of economic success. This drop off at the end, as already stated, is because This drop off at the end, as already stated, was because of their parents, because of the upper class. The parents are very wealthy, so the kids are not required to work. Economic success of kids in the future is based on several factors besides those already mentioned, such as family structure, household income, parents' college attendance, and location. It is also important to mention that the stats mentioned above were discussing the men and discussing only the men of the study, and that the women had a slightly higher college attendance rate and employment rate as well, which skewed the results slightly. Inner and urban cities are much harder for intergenerational mobility to occur compared to rural and suburban cities. Inner and urban cities are much less like intergenerational mobility is much less likely to occur because there's not much individuality in schools, and the schools are often very packed full of students. Therefore, school is not stressed as much as it is in suburban cities and rural cities, where there are more career opportunities, more individualized classes where there's less students, so teachers will be able to help certain students with what they need the most and help them learn better. And also, there are many more employment opportunities in suburban and rural cities usually, whereas in some cities like Detroit and Los Angeles, the employment rates are lower than most suburban cities. This is a problem because recent trends have shown that although more chances for higher education and better career choices have become available, kids who have been raised in lower class families will end up most likely in the same socioeconomic situation as their parents. Some of the biggest problems occur between the lower and the middle class. The lower class and middle class usually grow up around those of their socioeconomic class. Therefore, they are surrounded by an influence that often leads them to believe that they will not be able to get out of their socioeconomical situation, and that they will be stuck where they are for their whole life. This is also a problem because it is continuing the cycle of poverty in America and not allowing for kids to get jobs and experience a better life. Over time, the separation between classes has become greater as income growth and inflation have taken effect. The separation of classes has had an increased effect of those of the lower and middle classes. As separation has occurred and communities have become recognized by the socioeconomic status that exists throughout it, so the greater the overtime separation between classes has become greater, or income growth and inflation have taken effect, is referring to the increase in the wage pay and just inflation over time, as wages have become a lot bigger since the 1970s and 1980s. Intergenerational mobility has been a problem ever since higher education and specialized technological jobs had begun to exist. Intergenerational mobility refers to changes in social status between different generations within the same family. In other words, it is the ability of a modern generation individual to end up in a better socioeconomic state than their parents and grandparents were in. This is a problem because recent trends have shown that although more chances for higher education and better career choices have become available, kids who have been raised in lower class families will end up most likely in the same socioeconomic situation as their parents. This is also a problem because it is continuing the cycle of poverty in America and not allowing for kids to get jobs and experience a better life. This problem is leading to large amounts of socioeconomic separations, as the lower class stays poor and will usually stick together. The same is true for the falling classes. The problem is not with the middle or upper class of society, it is with the lower class and those who end up in a lower socioeconomic standing than their parents. Because of this downward trend, individuals are becoming reliant on government support and are not becoming more self-reliant. This also is setting limits on what kids who grow up in lower class households believe they can do and succeed. This is one of the biggest problems with intergenerational mobility at a decline, because this is one of the biggest factors why it's at a decline, is because kids who grow up in certain areas often get the mentality that this is where they're going to end up and that there's not bigger things for them out there. And when education and future careers are not stressed as much in school, they won't know what they actually can succeed in reality. This can be prevented by providing ample schooling for those individuals who grow up in lower class households and who are in poverty, providing scholarships and after-school activities so they can stay involved and recognize the ample possibilities they have for the future. Provide employment opportunities for parents of low-income households who are unemployed so they will be able to provide rather than, in some cases, relying on food stamps and handouts. Providing scholarships and after-school activities would provide more of an emphasis on education, and although kids may not be able to attend after-school activities, it would promote schooling and show and provide a place of refuge from, because kids in lower class neighborhoods often have rough after-school lives. Providing employment opportunities for parents of low-income households would not only help them improve their careers and help them provide economically for their children, it would also help in their children's path to socioeconomic success in the future. In conclusion, the decrease in intergenerational mobility is a big problem that has an extremely large effect on individuals of the lower and middle class, as they are setting limits on themselves, which in return is causing them to settle in the lifestyles they have grown up living in, instead of trying for something more in life, economically and socially speaking.